You know what drives me crazy is whenever I go to these live international conferences and I see these expert plastic surgeon injectors butcher people's faces live on stage with dermal fillers, and the main reason is because their entry point with their cannula is at the wrong place. What's up everyone, Dan Julian here, nurse practitioner for Danesthetics Medical. Today I'm sharing with you my recommended entry points when using a cannula using dermal filler. And this is going to provide you with immediately better results, and it's also going to avoid complications like filler migration caused by channeling when used in the right way. I'll explain more in detail in the video. Stay tuned, you guys are gonna love it. Let's go. All right, so before we get into it, let's just go over briefly the difference between a needle and a cannula, and I want you guys to look at this. This is a great example of what a needle looks like. Sharp tip, break through the skin, placing product all in the fat pads, but you can't see behind the skin, and there's likely a minefield of veins and arteries. I could be slicing through all of that stuff, causing lots of unnecessary bruising and bleeding, and maybe even the risk of occlusion if I just decide to park it somewhere. Let's avoid all that by breaking through the skin with a little needle and then switching it up with a cannula. A cannula looks like this, just like a needle, but the tip is blunted. It's rounded off. Therefore, whenever I go into the skin, just like a needle, I'm now in the same plane and same platform, right? I'm in the fat pads, but whenever I'm coming in contact with all of the veins and arteries, it just bumps them out of the way. This is the prime reason why we use a cannula. It's much safer, and if you know how to use it, you can get great results with less downtime and a lot less risk. Now, before we get into the explanation and the rationale of why I choose these entry points, I want you to take into consideration 3 things every time whenever you're using a cannula. First of all, safety. Is this a safe area to go in with a cannula? For example, the facial artery that starts here and goes this way. Would it be safe for me to place my cannula directly into this area and go parallel with that facial artery? No. And the reason why is because even though it's less likely that this can penetrate through an artery and cannulate it, it's still a possibility. So I want to avoid that if possible. So I want to make sure I'm perpendicular to any major vessels when possible. Number 2, is the point of entry easy for you to get access to the area that you want to treat, or is it going to be tricky? Because if it's easy, then the treatment's easy. It feels much better for the client. You're going to be in and out of there much quicker, and you're going to have easy access to all the areas, providing you with exceptional results much quicker. And number 3, is this point of entry going to increase your chances of filler migration to an area that you do not want to volumize? This is a big one that I think a lot of people overlook. Let's get into it. All right, let's bring in our assistant Stuart, and let's start off with the Marinet Zone right here, baby. Okay, whenever I first started, I was taught to place my injection point or my entry point right here, which is just in the jowl area. And I would place product into the Marinet Zone, crossing through this mandibular ligament, and it would provide me with nice immediate results. And you know what? I did end up getting immediately good results. The problem is that whenever you're doing that with a cannula, 2 things are happening. First of all, you're creating a channel with a cannula, which means that you're literally creating little spaces that are going to stay open temporarily as you place the filler here. You also have a lot of movement going on in this area. So when people are talking, mimicking, voice, chewing, whatever, then you're literally asking the product sometimes to move back into the channel that you've created. And often enough, whenever I used to do that technique, I would have great results immediately. But after a few weeks, they'd come back and they say, I swear some of the filler's in here, and I could feel it. I'm like, you're right, the filler's back here. And that's because of the migration from the combination of movement and the channeling. So now what do? Instead of placing my entrance point here, I literally go in front of this mandibular ligament that's here, and my entrance point is going to be in front of it, right there. I can then place all of my product here, and therefore I haven't created a channel that's gone beyond the ligament, and as a result, it just stays there. It doesn't matter how much movement they have because the product isn't giving a chance for it to go back here. You've got a ligament that's stopping it, and I don't have any channels. So this is my new point of entry whenever I'm doing anything for the Marinet Zone and also for the chin. A very cool, easy access. When it comes to safety, there is a little bit of a bundle branch of arteries that runs here, however, nothing parallel. And also if I decide to do the chin using this entry point, there is an artery that runs through it, but we're now perpendicular, which makes it an additional safety measure for me, which makes this a 3 for 3. And this is why I recommend placing your entry point right here whenever you're doing the Marinet Zone or the chin. Hey out there, if you're enjoying this content, make sure you check out my Patreon. I give you all of my advanced skills in real time on real people. Also, if you're a business owner and you want to learn how to get butts in chairs, how to upsell, how to brand yourself on social media, make sure you check out my school platform below. Enjoy! Next up, the nasolabial fold, which is filling this area right here. There are 2 injection points that I recommend. You can either go with this one or this one. Both have their cons, however. Let's go over both of them and you can decide what's best for you. Let's start with up here. Going up here, I do get ease of access. No problem, I can reach this area. What's also beneficial is that I'm perpendicular to the major artery here, which can potentially cause us problems. So it's a safer approach too. The downside with here is that you've got a lot of movement around here, and whenever you're smiling and talking and chewing, most of the movement goes this way. We lift up, zygomaticus major and minor, pull up here, and as a result, whenever I'm placing product here, and if I smile and I moat, guess what? I have another channel that I've created here, and I'm asking for this product to potentially migrate from here to here. And this is precisely the last thing I want to fill, is the nasolabial fat pad, which is usually what we're trying to mask. So for that reason, I really don't like coming from this area. It makes sense. However, in the long term, a lot of migration ends up moving up here, and I'm not happy with it. This is the reason why I personally choose to go down here. Yes, I am in the line of fire of this facial artery if it's there. However, often enough, that facial artery is superficial. I will be placing it deep, and at the same time, I will oscillate and move my cannula constantly. Therefore, the chances of me cannulating an artery are extremely low, probably 1 in 10,000. Now, if I'm in there and I'm out right away, then it's not enough to block the artery. The other thing too is that if I'm in and out, 1 in 10,000, in again is extremely low. 1 in like 100,000, 1 in a million. So it's extremely low risk whenever you're using a cannula technique, as long as you keep it moving to fill this area. This is going to give you immediately easy access, immediately good results, and as long as I do not cross over into the nasolabial fat pad whenever I'm placing product here, the product should stay here, and if anything, if it does migrate, it might migrate down because I've maybe created a little channel here, which is usually where the product needs to go anyways. So I get often enough better results here and less chance of migration over here. And because I'm aware of how the cannula works and I'm aware of the safety measures, it's still an area that I feel safer injecting with a cannula, and I'm going to go ahead and do that all day using cannula right here. Now let's get into the tear trough. This is an area that I often see butchered on stage. I'm going to share with you why. And it's actually a pretty safe area to treat. There's really no major arteries around this area. There's a bundle branch deep on the bone here, but we're going to be going nowhere near it. We're all the way up here. And also that facial artery is much lower. So generally speaking, it doesn't matter where you start with your entry point. All of these entry points are considered safe. Really what you're looking for is the overall outcome and ease of access. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're looking at Stuart here. We have the ubiquitous retaining ligament, which is the area you want to treat. Most of the time you're going to treat the medial part, but sometimes you need access to treat the lateral part. And you also have to remember there is a retaining ligament that intersects with it. This is the zygomaticus retaining ligament, also known as the jugal groove. That ligament starts from the bone, goes through all the tissues, and pulls everything down. And you have to remember that because whenever you're done doing the tear trough, sometimes you're going to see this depression here and you're like, man, I got to fix that. And sometimes all it takes is a very, very thin amount of this filler superficially to correct it. So let's get into the 3 areas that people often use and the one that I'd recommend. So let's start off with the worst one, which is over here. I see this often enough. This is the one I saw butchering someone on stage. And the reason why is because look at this. If I had to go in with a cannula, which is stiff, first of all, I go in, I'm above, now I've got to go below the muscle. So as I'm doing this, look at how much tissue I have to lift. All of this tissue is going to be lifted. I'm making this very awkward for this client and this provider to get underneath the muscle to place product all the way down here, right? Look at my cannula, like I have to do that in order to get there. So what I saw on stage is this provider trying to get there, couldn't get there, and ended up, wrestling with the muscle because he was trying to scratch through it, couldn't get through it. So he ended up accidentally placing product superficially and caused this big sausage roll right there. He tried to massage it out, couldn't massage it out, and just butchered the client's tear trough. Everyone clapped, and I was like, what is going on? Why are people clapping for this? But this could have all been avoided if he changed his location. Now let's look at the second location right here. This is a pretty good one because you do get easy access to all the areas that you need to target, right? However, if you end up needing to treat this zygomaticus ligament, or that little groove that we were talking about, then you would have to be forced to go this way and place aliquots there. But based on the fact that you're creating channels and also gravity, most of that product is going to migrate over here. And by 2 weeks' time, this is still going to be having this dip, and this is now going to be overemphasized, which is probably something you didn't want in the first place. So this is the reason why I would say this is okay, but it's not perfect. This is the area that you need to place your introducer in, which is along the zygomaticus ligament. This gives you easy access to everywhere. You'll have access to the medial tear trough, lateral tear trough. If you want to go deep, you can do that. If you want to go superficially, you can do that. And finally, in the end, if you really need to place a little bit superficially, you just place a small strand superficially into that fat pad, coming out of that entry point, and you'll be able to mask that beautifully. It's the small details that really make or break providers from doing a good job on the tear trough. And that position right there is going to save you a lot of headaches, and you'll end up having a lot better results. I highly recommend it. And last but not least, the gonial angle, also known as the jawline. Let's bring in Stuart here. So what we want to fill is all here, including this area here. And there are 3 entry points, 1, 2, 3. I'll tell you why I like this one the best right now. I actually started off here. And the reason why is because the provider told me this is a danger zone. You want to make your entry point here and make your cannula go away from the danger zone. Place all your product here, and that's great. The problem is I still needed to fill here. This antigonial notch here creates a little dip right here, almost on everyone. And I need to fill that, and that actually takes enough product. So if I was done my jawline and I still need to fill there, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna place my cannula there and fill it with filler? This is like the most dangerous place to place this filler because of this huge artery that's there. I don't wanna do that. So I would eventually try and massage and move filler there, and it wouldn't look great. So I thought, okay, well, what's the second best place? Well, then I was taught, let's go here. And this angle is actually really nice because I'm perpendicular to the facial artery. This facial artery runs deep, so as long as I'm superficial coating here, that's no problem. I can also reach all the areas. The problem is 2 things. First of all, this is a cannula and it's long, and I'm sometimes getting caught, particularly when I want to go this way. Like I get caught in the person's shoulder or the chest, and it's kind of awkward. The other thing too is that I often need a little bit more projection here, which means I need to place a little bit more product here. And if I place a lot of product right where there's a hole, then it might seep out. And I just thought it was an awkward place, particularly if I need a lot of product here. So this is where we move over here. I completely change the angle. Now instead of coming from here, I actually go around the patient, lie them down, and I come from this angle over here. And this gives me all access much easier. I can coat back here, reach all the areas. I'm somewhat perpendicular to this facial artery, place it superficially, no problem. If I want to place a larger bolus right here, I can do that easily. And then finally, I get to use my smart finger. And what's nice about the smart finger is that whenever I'm doing the jawline, particularly for a lot of feminine clients, I want to mask a jowl that's heavy here. So I need to place a little product underneath, not just directly on top of the mandible. And this smart finger guides me. So whenever I'm here and I'm placing it underneath, this smart finger is telling me I'm in the right plane. So I can go ahead and do that. I have ease of access to everywhere. Ergonomically, it's much more comfortable, particularly if the client's lying down, I'm behind them, and I'm just very comfortable. I end up getting a better result. So it's a win-win for everyone. So there's no risk of migration either, just based on the fact that there's not a lot of movement here. The angle is from above, so even if I'm creating little channels, they're not going to go up. They're going to stay exactly where I've placed the product. It's safe because I'm still relatively perpendicular. I'm superficial instead of going deep. And also, it's very comfortable for me, and I get immediately great results. And I get to use my smart finger a little bit more here. So this is the reason why I choose this angle, and I think you all should use it too. I hope it helps. It's up to you. Take what you want from these videos. I'm not saying this is the way. I'm just saying this is my way. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, I'll do another one, and I'll show you guys the best entry points for temple, forehead, and the neck whenever you're using hyperdilute radius. Till the next time, take care of yourselves, exercise daily, and be nice to absolutely everyone. Cheers, guys.